It is estimated that U.S. civilians own 393 million firearms, and that 35 to 42% of the households in the country have at least one gun. The U.S. has by far the highest estimated number of guns per capita in the world, at 120.5 guns for every 100 people. For the better or the worse, the subject of firearms remains to be a topic of heated debate amongst Americans. Today we bring you a scoop on the latest, most shocking gun news, so stay tuned. New gun bill Protecting Our Kids Act. The House on Wednesday passed a sweeping gun bill that would raise the minimum age to purchase an assault rifle in the U.S. from 18 to 21, even though the legislation doesn't stand much of a chance in the Senate, it said. The bill, called the Protecting Our Kids Act, would also bar the sale of large-capacity magazines and institute new rules that dictate proper at-home gun storage. The Democratic-held chamber approved the legislation in a 223 to 204 vote. It passed in a mostly party-line vote. 5 Republicans supported the measure, while 2 Democrats opposed it. The House earlier voted by a 228 to 199 margin to include the purchasing age provision, under heavy scrutiny after 2 recent massacres carried out by 18-year-olds in the broader bill. The package is a collection of several pieces of legislation designed to limit access to guns and other firearm equipment in the wake of last month's mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, that left 31 Americans dead. Actor Matthew McConaughey's impassioned speech. In an emotional speech at the White House on Tuesday, actor Matthew McConaughey called for new gun regulations in the wake of last month's tragedies in his hometown of Uvalde, Texas, and urged federal lawmakers to honor their moral obligations instead of party affiliations. Through misty eyes, McConaughey recalled his recent travel to Uvalde, where he and his wife met with victims' families, local law enforcement, and morticians who were tasked with preparing some of the bodies of the school-aged children who were shot to death on May 24th. He also recounted his younger years in Uvalde, where he said he learned what it means to be a responsible gun owner and to revere the Second Amendment. We heard from so many people, families of the deceased, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, Texas Rangers, hunters, Border Patrol, and responsible gun owners who won't give up their Second Amendment rights, he said. They all said, "We want secure and safe schools, and we want gun laws that won't make it so easy for the bad guys to get these damn guns." McConaughey was one of the people who specifically called on U.S. lawmakers to pass legislation to raise the minimum age gun owners can purchase an assault rifle to 21 from 18, bulk up background checks, and institute red flag provisions. House passes red flag bill. The House of Representatives on Thursday passed a so-called red flag bill that would allow a judge to take firearms away from a person who poses an imminent danger to themselves or others. The bill, one of a number of gun safety measures taken up in the House recently, advanced in a 224 to 202 vote and is viewed as having a greater chance than some of the other legislation of advancing in the evenly split Senate. 5 Republicans supported the measure and 1 Democrat voted against it. Speaking on the House floor ahead of the vote, Rep. Jerry Nadler said the measure, which would allow a judge to issue an order temporarily preventing a person deemed a danger from purchasing or possessing firearms, could save lives. While details in cases may differ, he said, there's one theme that comes up most often. Someone deeply troubled, experiencing some sort of crisis, had easy access to firearms. All too often the warning signs were clear, and nothing was done to keep guns out of the hands before it was too late, Nadler said. He said the bill provides a sensible means by which someone who's exhibiting dangerous behavior can be prevented from possessing or purchasing a firearms before tragedy strikes. Pushing gun makers to adopt microstamping. New York this week became the second state to enact legislation to force gun manufacturers to adopt microstamping, a technology in which guns imprint tiny codes on cartridges of ammo as it is fired, creating a unique signature police could use to help solve crimes. Big questions remain, however, about whether the new law will actually lead to such weapons being offered for sale. California passed a similar law 15 years ago, and since then no handguns capable of micro-marking have been offered for sale in that state. Instead, gun makers have pulled new handgun designs from the California market rather than outfitting them with the technology, which critics say is expensive, impractical, and of questionable value as a weapon and as a tool in the fight against crime. Both states are now trying new tactics to pressure manufacturers. Proponents of New York's new law say it has a chance to succeed where California initially failed. The New York legislature has put in place a more robust system that will produce a set of conditions and assessments that don't depend on the gun industry to give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down, said David Puccino of Giffords Law Center. A pair of New Hampshire engineers are credited with inventing microstamping as a potential law enforcement tool 3 decades ago. The process involves engraving a serial number inside the firearm, on the tip of the firing pin, or on the breech face. When the weapon fires, this unique number or code is stamped on the shell casing. Law enforcement investigators could then retrieve casings from crime scenes and turn to a database that could show which gun fired the bullet and where that gun was last sold by a gun dealer licensed firearms. The problem here is to provide a forensic tool to identify a firearm when a firearm is not recovered, said Microstamping co-inventor Todd Lizzett. Facebook gives gun sellers 10 strikes before ban. Facebook prohibits gun sales on its service, but buyers and sellers can violate the rule 10 times before they are kicked off the social network, according to internal guidance obtained by media sources. The policy, which has not previously been reported, is much more lenient than for users who post child, which is illegal, or a terrorist image on Facebook, which prompts immediate removal from the platform. A separate 5 strikes policy extends even to gun sellers and purchasers who actively call for violence or praise a known dangerous organization, according to the documents. Once a major marketplace for gun sales, which were sold in groups for firearm enthusiasts, Facebook prohibited such sales in 2016, amid pressure from activists and government agencies trying to strengthen gun control post-Sandy Hook. Other social media companies such as Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok followed suit. Facebook has maintained that it polices gun sales appropriately, arguing that such deals represent a tiny fraction of the content on its networks and that many who violate the policy aren't aware they're breaking rules since selling guns is legal in the United States. Supreme Court likely to undo new gun restrictions. After the horrific massacre at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, that claimed the lives of 19 children and 2 teachers, America's outrage and desire to stop the carnage from gun violence is illustrated in a new Politico poll that finds nearly 70% of Americans support a ban on AR-15 type weapons, and 84% support banning sales of guns to people whom mental health officials have flagged as dangerous. But even if such laws were to be enacted on either the federal or state level, there's one big problem. The 2008 U.S. Supreme Court decision District of Columbia versus Heller, in which the court, in a 5-4 decision, essentially rewrote the Second Amendment to create a constitutionally guaranteed right for an individual to possess a gun. Numerous local, state, and federal laws drafted to reduce gun violence and save lives have been struck down by federal courts because they violate Heller. A week before these new bills came about, in a 2-1 ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, 2 Trump-appointed judges cited the Heller decision and struck down a California law that banned adults under the age of 21 from buying semi-automatic weapons. Any new laws that limit access to weapons will likely meet the same fate. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.